Are you testing the new furniture pieces that you're wanting to work on for lead before you start working on them? If not, you may want to start. You could unintentionally be exposing yourself or your family to lead. There's actually documentation from Roman physicians that there were some health concerns associated with lead even way back then. Fast forward to the Renaissance, painters often added lead into their oil paints because it made them last longer, made the colors prettier, and just seemed to increase the quality of the paint. And about the 40s and 50s, mid 20th century, is when some studies came out that really started to show the toxicity of lead. Lead really only becomes a problem when it comes in contact with the body, whether you inhale it or you absorb it through your mucous membranes. But what wasn't often thought about was when lead, specifically paint, would flake off and be picked up by someone or something like a child or pet and cause problems. There is a documented legal case in 1952 where a kiddo unfortunately picked up some paint. And fun fact, lead has a sweet taste. And so this kiddo actually ended up gnawing on a windowsill to try to get more of that sweet, sweet lead paint. And that's when things really started getting more serious and people taking it more seriously. It wasn't until 1978 when lead paint was no longer allowed to be used in residential facilities. That's why, at least here in America, when you purchase a home, you have to sign documentation that says that you're aware the home was built before 1978 and could contain lead paint. But why should you care about any of this? What difference does it make? I don't know about you, but most of my furniture projects are older than 1978. And if those projects have been painted, there's a pretty high probability that that paint contained lead, which is why it's so important to test prior to working on a new piece. And lead isn't exclusively in paint. It was actually used in lots of things. Car manufacturing, fine china. I'll let you do your own research on that, but it may be a more common thing than most of us are aware of. That doesn't mean that you need to be scared if when you test your furniture piece, it is positive for lead. There are safety precautions you can take that will help keep you and your family safe, and you can still work on the project. Now, it is completely your choice if you want to move forward with that project or not. It's completely understandable if you feel like it is out of your realm of comfort and you don't want to take the arguably extra steps to keep working on the piece safely. There's no shame in reselling that or disposing of it in a different way. It's my opinion that you do need to let the person you're selling it to know that it does have lead paint, just out of general kindness and humanity. But as far as I know, I've never seen a law that says that you have to disclose that. But in my opinion, you should. So for my visual learners, let's just do a test together. So here are the lead test strips that I use, and just pull a little stick out, looks like an orange Q-tip. You put it in a little bit of water for a second or two, wipe off the excess, and then put it on your piece for 30 seconds. So let's go. You just do a little circle in the part that you want to test on. And while it is orange, that doesn't usually bleed onto the piece. Every once in a while I've had like on a white, something painted white, the orange will transfer, but not a big deal, it comes right off. Okay. And we'll pull the stick up. And as you can see, there's no pigment on there. If it was lead, it would show up in this violet color, even going down to like a purple. And that's how we know we need to pivot and change our plan a little bit of how we're gonna work on that furniture piece. Here's a quick example of a positive lead test. It's very obvious and it will be tough for you to miss, so don't worry about not noticing it. A few things to consider before taking on a project that has lead paint. First, you want to encapsulate the lead. So that means instead of going straight to carbide scraping or sanding, you would want to do a paint stripper that's not kicking up a bunch of dust that you're breathing in. Second, do you have the appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE? Do you have glasses that can cover your eyes if there's a splash? Do you have a solid mask or respirator? Highly recommend a respirator. Do you have access to the proper kind of glove? And lastly, do you have the means to dispose of the lead paint when it comes off of the furniture? Can you appropriately put it in a sealed paint can and dispose it according to the regulations of your local district? Now, that sounds like a lot, but if you break it down, all you're really doing is stripping that paint off, which you would do most of the time with most other projects. So it's really not that there's that many more steps. You just have to kind of think about it as you're going through the restoration process of, am I appropriately protecting myself? Am I not bringing this lead into my home where my family is? Lastly, I think one more thing to call out is time after you work on the project. And what I mean by that is if you are working with a project that contains lead, you're going to want to make sure that you are covered and you can come in, shower, wash your hair, leave your shoes outside so you aren't trekking it into the house. This is kind of what I mean about thinking about different ways that you're not going to expose yourself or others in your home to this lead. And again, most of the time, I guess I'm making an assumption. A lot of the time, you're probably going to come in and shower after working on your project anyway. Furniture flipping and restoration, it's really dirty. You are not a clean person when you walk out of 2 hours of sanding a project. You're probably going to go shower anyway. So it's just being cognizant of what you're doing, how you're doing it. That's the key difference. A positive lead test is not the end of the world. You can absolutely still work on that project. You just might need to pivot a little bit in how it is that you work up that project. And you know what? If you decide that you don't want to have to worry about it, that's okay. That's all right too. Just please disclose to the next person that you're selling it to, or however it is that you dispose of it, that it does contain lead so that they can be safe too. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. I will do my very best to answer them, and I will always encourage you to do your own research. You deserve to feel safe when you are doing furniture flipping or furniture restoration.